That day, St. John's Hospital in Edinburgh was enveloped in sombre silence as the news was confirmed. Outlander actor Sam Heughan, an icon of strength and resilience, had been admitted in a critical condition with exhaustion and acute cardiac arrest. The first person to arrive at the hospital was Caitriona Balfe, Sam's longtime co-star and close friend, both at work and in life. As she entered the ICU room where Sam lay motionless, surrounded by medical equipment, Caitriona's eyes filled with tears. The strong woman who had weathered many storms in the entertainment industry was now just a friend sobbing and praying for her loved one. At the end of the hospital bed, Sam's mother, Chrissy Heughan, sat silently. Her eyes were dark from sleepless nights, and she held her son's hand tightly and whispered something inaudible, perhaps a childhood lullaby or a promise to be there for him no matter what. Sam's health condition did not come on suddenly. For months he had been tired, had lost weight, had trouble sleeping, and recently had low blood pressure while filming an action scene for a new project. But a perfectionist Sam always tried to endure. He hid his fatigue behind his familiar smile and the phrase, "I'm fine, just a little tired." The night he was admitted to the hospital, Sam collapsed on the set and was rushed to the emergency room with dehydration, arrhythmia, and acute stress leading to serious complications for his cardiovascular system. If it had been a few hours later, the consequences would have been very serious, the head of the cardiology department warned. News of Sam's condition spread quickly on social media. The hashtag #TweeArm Pray for Sam Heughan climbed to #1 worldwide in just a few hours. Millions of fans from the US, Brazil, Japan to Vietnam sent their wishes and love to him. One person wrote on Twitter, "Sam is the source of motivation to help me overcome depression. Now it's time for us to pray for him to overcome his own darkness." Another person shared, "Sam is not just an actor, he is an inspiration to millions of people with his kindness, strength, and never-give-up spirit." At the hospital, Caitriona did not leave Sam's bedside for even a minute. She replaced his mother to monitor his vital signs, talking softly to him as if trying to wake him from a long sleep. In an emotional moment recorded by nurses, Caitriona hugged Sam's mother tightly as she burst into tears after the doctor announced that he needed to be monitored for another 72 hours to determine whether Sam would overcome the critical condition. "I can't lose my son," Chrissy choked out. "He's my everything." Caitriona held her hand, her voice trembling but determined. "He won't give up. He's a fighter, and so are we." The next 48 hours were filled with intense tension. Then on the morning of the third day, a glimmer of hope appeared. Sam began to respond to sounds. His eyes opened slightly. His lips moved. "Mommy." "Kate." Chrissy burst into tears of joy, and Caitriona placed her forehead on Sam's hand, sobbing as if a heavy stone had been lifted from her heart for the past few days. Sam Heughan was out of danger, but the road to recovery was still long. Doctors asked him to stop all artistic activities for at least 6 months to treat both physically and mentally. In an official statement, Sam's representative shared, "Sam is overwhelmed with the outpouring of love from around the world. He is recovering and is grateful to have his mother and Caitriona by his side. We ask for your prayers and respect for privacy during this time." After waking up, Sam was still very weak. His voice was hoarse, his hands were shaking, his heart rate slowed every time he tried to sit up. But his eyes were no longer lifeless. When he saw his mother and Caitriona beside him, he smiled a weak smile, but enough to make both women burst into tears of joy. In the early days of his recovery, Sam barely spoke. He communicated with his eyes and his emotional expressions. Every morning, Caitriona brought him a small bouquet of lavender, his favourite flower for its gentle scent and healing meaning. She placed it on the shelf, smiling and saying, "Today is a new day, Sam. A day when you are still here with us." Throughout his recovery, Sam Heughan was cared for by an elite medical team. In addition to physical treatments, psychologists were also called in to help him overcome the invisible mental pressure that he had never acknowledged for so long. During one of his first sessions, the doctor asked him, "Sam, what are you most afraid of?" Sam was silent for a long time. He looked out the window where the trees were shimmering in the sunset. Finally, he said softly, "I'm afraid that I won't be myself if I'm not strong." That confession made not only the doctor, but also Caitriona Balfe, who was sitting quietly in the corner of the room, speechless. Over the years, she had become accustomed to the image of Sam, who was always full of energy, always supporting others, always saying, "It's okay." But today, for the first time, he dared to admit his weakness, something that any real person must face. In the days that followed, Sam began doing light rehabilitation exercises, walking the hospital hallways, deep breathing, meditating. Every morning, his mother was the first one there, sitting beside her son and reading fan letters from all over the world. There were letters from Canada, New Zealand, and even Vietnam. One special letter from a single mother read, "You don't know it, but your writing and videos helped me get back on my feet after losing my husband. Now I pray you get back on your feet for yourself, not anyone else." Hearing that, Sam burst into tears. "I never thought I would mean so much to anyone," he whispered to his mother. As for Caitriona, she put aside almost all her personal and professional plans to be with Sam. In a private conversation with Sam's mother, Chrissy, she choked up. "I always thought I was strong. But when I saw Sam lying motionless on the hospital bed, I understood nothing is more precious than a life that is dying. And I was so afraid of losing him that I couldn't even imagine." Chrissy held her hand and said softly, "If my son ever had anyone to lean on, it was you. Thank you for not leaving him." After 3 weeks of intensive treatment, Sam was able to stand up talk normally and was allowed to go home to continue his recovery under medical supervision. He chose to return to the small cabin in the Highlands where he grew up to find himself again, amidst nature and peaceful childhood memories. In the first short video after the incident, filmed by Caitriona herself, Sam appeared with a radiant but gentler face than before. Standing in a field of wildflowers, wearing a simple sweater, he spoke slowly. "I am Sam. Today I am not a hero, not an actor, not a brand. I am just a human being learning to be true to myself. Thank you for not abandoning me." The online community exploded with emotions. A series of posts, hashtags, and reaction videos from fans and famous artists spread around the world. The hashtag #JeanHealingWithSam became a symbol of the journey to find the balance between health and fame. Not long after, Caitriona and Sam founded a charity called Breathe Again, dedicated to supporting young artists and those working in high-pressure environments on mental health care. No one ever thought that one day Sam Heughan, a symbol of strength and resilience, could be so weak that it seemed impossible to recover. But in that moment, the world saw clearly he was human, and humans needed love and rest, and most of all, to be themselves. For his mother, for Caitriona, and for his millions of fans. Sam's recovery was not just a triumph of medicine, but also a triumph of love, honesty, and the courage to be true to oneself. And as the sun set over Scotland somewhere in the breeze, a voice whispered, "Sam is back not to shine, but to live." After leaving the hospital, Sam Heughan chose not to return to the spotlight nor to give interviews. He quietly returned to a small cabin deep in the Highlands of Scotland, the place where he was born, raised, and once promised to return one day to find himself. Life there was extremely simple. No phone, no social media, no schedule. Just nature, the sound of birds, the smell of fresh grass after rain and misty mornings. Things that he used to take for granted now became the things that helped him recover every day. Every morning, Sam started his day by meditating by the stream, listening to the sound of the water flowing like a peaceful lullaby. He learned to cook from scratch, tended a small garden, and kept a diary thoughts that had never had a chance to escape during the years he was caught up in the fame cycle. Some nights he lit a small fire, sat alone under the stars, and silently faced himself. Memories of his childhood, of his struggles in front of the camera, of his silent fears, all of them came flooding back, but this time he didn't push them away. He embraced them as if they were part of who he really was. Caitriona Balfe kept her promise. She didn't come to the Highlands often, but every week she sent Sam a handwritten letter. It was a word of encouragement, a poem, or simply, "I'm here if you need me." Each letter was like a thread connecting him to the world outside a world he once feared he no longer belonged to. One day Sam received a small package. It was a hand-drawn picture by a 10-year-old Japanese girl with the message, "Uncle Sam is my hero. But if you get tired, you can just be a normal person." "I still love you," Sam cried. It had been a long time since he had cried like a child, not because of pain, but because he was allowed to be weak. In the 3rd month, Sam started jogging around the forest doing yoga, learning watercolour painting. He discovered hobbies that he had never tried before because of work pressure. Although his physical condition had not fully recovered, his eyes were different, calmer, deeper, and no longer hiding anything. In the 5th month, he decided to record his recovery journey with a small camera that Caitriona gave him. No director, no stage lighting, just him and nature. These were videos of Sam harvesting carrots, playing the guitar under the trees, or reading fan letters by the fire. It was all genuine, unedited, and when he posted his first video on YouTube, he wrote, "This is not a comeback. This is a new beginning, a Sam who is no longer trying to please anyone, but is just being himself. The video touched millions of hearts. Comments poured in. I forgot how to slow down. Thanks, Sam, for reminding me. You don't have to be a star, Sam. You just have to be yourself. And that's brilliant enough. The hashtag #YourHeughan became a symbol for thousands of people who were finding themselves in the hustle and bustle of modern life. The videos that followed weren't viral or entertaining, but a healing journey, very real, very human. In his final month, Sam wrote a handwritten letter to his mother and Caitriona. In the letter, he wrote, "Thank you for loving the imperfect Sam. Thank you for staying when I was at my weakest. I'm still learning to forgive myself for thinking I wasn't allowed to be tired." On the last day of the 6-month journey, Sam stood in the middle of the hill in front of the cabin, where the wind blew through the purple flowers. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. No more erratic heartbeat, no more fear of the spotlight. Only one sentence echoed in his mind. I'm still alive, but this time for me.